everyone, and welcome to the Dr. Music Podcast, where today sitting in with me is Billy Ashbaugh. Billy is a world-class drummer that's toured or recorded with acts like Pat Benatar, Nsync, John Lodge, Moody Blues. The list goes on and on and on. He has over 70 television appearances, including playing The Tonight Show 6 times. Played the Grammy Awards, the MTV Music Awards, Saturday Night Live, Rock in Rio in front of 280,000 people. What hasn't he done? You can often find him playing the local club scene in Florida with his wife, Jenny, who is also a drummer. There's nothing that you haven't done, Billy. This is pretty crazy, the life you've had, isn't it?
I'm very lucky. Yes, thank you. Yes.
Yeah, it's great, man. And you know, I look at you, and you've had all these accolades and just so many opportunities and played with so much talent. But you know, there's a crowd of people out there. I say Billy Ashbaugh, and they don't know who I'm talking about. You know what I mean? You're flying under the radar.
Yeah, I am. That's fine.
Yeah, that's my first question for you is, you know, as a kid, you know, you want to make that last shot at the buzzer kind of thing when you're a sports kid. When you're a music kid, you want to stand in front of those people and chanting your name or something like that. That doesn't come with your gig. Have you ever wished for that?
Never. Yeah.
Yeah.
I never have. No, never really played music or got into music for that. I always just did it, not to sound corny, but because I enjoyed playing. And I always told people, in my head, I really literally don't care if there's 10 people or 10,000 people, as long as the music's happening. And that's the reason we're kind of up there. You know, oh, I love the cat.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Thanks. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Every time I got a dog usually in here too. So
Oh, okay, yeah. Hopefully I'll see him too. Anyway, no, I mean, I greatly appreciate it, and the stuff I've been able to do, and it's quite often scared the crap out of me, thinking about it prior to being in front of those kind of crowds. But no, I definitely appreciate it. But no, I was never anything I grew up dreaming for, to be honest.
Yeah, and that's I so appreciate that because you really appreciate the music and you know what you can do with your instrument. It's great. Yeah. Um, play as a session musician. Have you get band opportunities? You know, I think Pat Benatar for a couple of years, the Nsync thing for 5 or 6 years, right? So but a permanent band thing it hasn't really been, you know, you like do you like the adventure of the session musician as opposed to that drama of the band so much?
Yeah, I've never really been in any sort of band situation. I mean, younger, yeah, for a few years, but nothing really dedicated or crazy at all. I think I do like it this way, in a weird way, because I don't know, you can spread around and get so many different gigs where you're being hired, as opposed to like all your eggs in one basket, with one project sort of thing. In that sense, I find it fun and challenging. But not, don't get me wrong, nowhere near as financially rewarding. If you nail the other category, you're set. So there's that. But that, I don't know, to me, obviously it takes chemistry with like a group of people that you want to invest that time, and you can invest the time and the energy to make whatever that music is you're making as a unit.
Right.
Which
Yeah.
is cool and interesting thing to me. But I just personally haven't been in that situation very much. Just the way things played out, I just became this hired gun, so to speak.
Yeah, and I look at it and I'm thinking, in sync to the Moody Blues. Uh, you know, and you get fit Gloria Estefan in the middle there, which is a whole different realm in itself. Uh, the adventure of that has to be great.
Yes, it is. It's a lot of fun. and challenging, and very rewarding. And yeah, it is. I've been very lucky, but an amazingly fun ride. When I look back, I forget some of the things, and when you're rambling off all that stuff, I was like, oh, that's right. You just, not that you don't appreciate it, but you move on. You kind
Right.
of about some of those things. But I
Yeah.
was definitely very lucky.
Yeah, and let's talk about that a little bit. How you got that lucky? Well, yeah, I think you make your own luck too. uh,
Um, yeah, I mean, the door opens it, but you have to be ready for it. So you can't, you know what I mean? So you got to have everything together as a player. And I just instinctively always did that when I was younger. Just playing the bars. I was a guy who was always on time, never drank, never smoked. My gear was always in the best shape that it could be. I always knew my part. You could count on me. I just naturally did that. That's just what I did. And of course, you carry that into a professional level. That's a nice recipe to get started with. At least there's a lot of other dynamics that kind of creep up. On different situations and different gigs that you got to deal with. But the foundation is, having it all. Having it together just with your craft and what you do. Helps open up doors. And then so just naturally being that way, when I was able to get in that situation, like with Snap, that song, I Got the Power, that opened a lot of doors and just kind of kept things going. And then it just kind of snowballs. I got the Pat Benatar gig because her daughters were fans, go figure, of Nsync back when, right when Nsync was kind of peaking. So we were out in California, and they came in, got them in, tickets, management got them in, and we got to meet him backstage. It was really cool. But that's kind of how we connected, was through the Nsync thing.
Yeah, and see, I mean that kind of stuff. Be ready, be professional. Because I think every street has a great musician on it. A great guitar player. You know,
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, and that guy's not ready, but you are. You can even be a little bit lesser of a player,
Yep.
but if you're going to be, there all the time and fit in with the chemistry and be easy to work with, you're going to be the guy.
As soon as you hit the road, man, all of those things you just mentioned become equally as important. So yeah, you don't have to be this amazing, no one can touch you type of player to be successful. You just need enough to fit musically with what's going on and do your job.
Yeah.
That's it. And the rest is very, very important. Your personal skills, your people skills, just the kind of person you are. And if you get along, do you cause drama, that kind of thing. They really become huge.
Yep. Yeah. And that's any job, really. I mean, you can translate that too.
Good. Ain't nobody wants that kind of coworker or that kind of environment. I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. So people, listen to that. There's something to be said for that. You up and coming musicians,
Yeah.
work and play well with others. That's the key.
Sometimes quite challenging, but hey, there's a lot of egos on the stage.
Yeah. Yeah. And and that's another thing, with your hired gun, if you will. When you're playing the NSYNC show, nobody knows who the drummer is, and honestly, nobody cares at that at that show.
You're right.
You
Yeah.
know, they're there for the guys, and that's the feature of the whole show. So there's that little bit of disconnect that kind of puts you in your own world.
Yeah. Or it should. Some
Yeah.
musicians kind of they process it different and it gets them in trouble. But no, you're absolutely right. When you step back and you look at this machine, you're like, okay, those five guys, they make all the money, they all the crowd. And that's cool. Now our job is to be professional, be back there and just do our best to make them shine at what they. Then you stay out of everybody's way and you fit in this hectic little chaos that is touring that out somehow. But yeah, you definitely have a job, a spot, and a position. And yeah, you just have to keep that in check.
Yeah, and that would be comfortable for myself as a person. Just
I prefer it. Yes, I love being in the back and in the dark. It doesn't bother me. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, that's yeah. I'm a back of the. What was that?
I say I'm where I belong.
Yeah, that would not bother me. That's where the ego thing plays in, I guess. Uh, now you got. Go ahead.
No, no, I said perhaps you're right.
Oh,
That
okay. Yeah, we got a little bit of an overlap here, so I want to make sure that I get what you're saying. Johnny Wright, you come into this a little bit later in life. You started playing when you were 15, professionally 18. Um, Johnny Wright, a big piece of the puzzle for you. When did that happen? What's the time frame chronologically with that?
early 90s was when that happened. And I'll give you the quick version of this story. How it came about is kind of funny. So back then, I was dating a keyboard player, and she was in the house band there in Miami. And so we had broken up, and she had moved away to Orlando, but we had remained friends and kept in touch. And I started dating my now wife, Jenny, who's a drummer. And so my ex-girlfriend gets to Orlando, gets involved with this project, Turbo B from Snap, the song I Got the Power. And he was putting together an all-girl band. And she goes, oh, wow, I thought of Jenny, And so she reached out to me and said, hey, he's putting together. So she ends up connecting my wife to this gig. Well, my wife goes out and tours with Turbo for a good year, I think it was, off and on. A lot of stuff overseas, pretty much everything overseas. And she kept talking so much about me. And, my husband's a drummer too, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
Well, and he calls us up one night and just says, hey, why don't you both come out? So we're like, absolutely. So that's how we got out and actually met Johnny Wright, because he was managing Turbo B from Snap at the time. So in that weird roundabout way, through my wife really meeting Turbo first and working with him first, she gets me in on the gig, and then I met Johnny. And then fast forward down the road, when he needed a drummer, he called me for, when the Nsync and Backstreet stuff was taken off. And again, because he knew that he could count on me, because I did the same thing I did when I was playing in the clubs, making $100 a night. I made sure that I was on time, knew my parts, my gear was in good shape and all that stuff. And I didn't cause drama. So, once you fit in, then you get recommended, and you can go from one camp to the other,
Yep.
and so it's a cool thing.
Yep. And that's really back to that, it's your pro. It's so major.
Yeah. That important. It really is. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, that's just a great thing that, getting in with Johnny, I mean, an icon in that genre for sure. Crazy.
Yeah. Did you know I got offered Backstreet Boys gig?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, I really had to because I was committed with Turbo. We were recording. He had a funk rock Chili Peppers kind of vibe thing
Cool.
went on, and I was literally like halfway through the recording, and Johnny called and said, "Hey, Backstreet Boys, this band in Europe's blowing up. I need a band. Can you come?" And I said, "I can't. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." And so then, fast forward 6 months, and they're on Saturday Night Live and everything. And I thought, oh, what have I done? But then, Johnny gets another project, and luckily enough, the first guy he calls. So obviously I jumped on it when he called.
Well, I'm thinking to myself too, you turning that down also shows a professionalism that you might not get from other people. They might just say, hey, this is a better gig. I'll just tell that guy I got something else. You know what I mean? So there's a loyalty to that too.
Yeah. I was definitely felt loyal to just the whole way the thing went down to recording with Turbo,
Mhm.
Yeah, he brought us, the players, in at the very beginning stages, and we, he put us in a hotel efficiency thing, and we went into the studio all day for 8 hours for weeks and worked on stuff and started tracking. And when you get something like that going and you're halfway through, I can't just up and
Yeah.
way like that. So I had to nicely decline.
Yeah, and I'm sure he saw that, and I'm sure he respected your choice
You
of the.
know, forward, it works out. Yeah, you
Yep,
gotta sometimes you gotta just do what's right.
yep, absolutely. That that is somebody that I want working with me, is somebody who does things the right way. Now I mean, you get a Britney Spears gig, or two out of this thing, right? Uh, it's just crazy what stems from this. Uh,
Well, in all honesty, what happened? It's cool, don't get me wrong, but what happened is she blew up so fast that she had a TV spot. Rosie O'Donnell show. Sorry, I almost forgot. And that was the first time on TV. So what they did is they hired the Nsync band to back her because she was touring with us and opening, so it was easy for them to take a break and put us on the TV show. So, but I did get to do it that way. And then there was another scheduling thing. We did or she was, I think it was a Nickelodeon award show or something that I got to perform with her.
I
So
mean,
yeah, it was cool.
it's
Little.
just, I mean, it's great. I mean, as a drummer, and to experience all of these different things, it has, it definitely makes you a better player, right?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
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 I mean,
Definitely.
you're dealing with different people in different genres and a different crowd and that whole thing. But all these rhythms and the playing for NSYNC and that type of music, that pop music, is a lot different than playing something more progressive like the Moody Blues. Uh,
Right.
so it's you can do it all. I mean, that's
Right. Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot more precision with the NSYNC stuff as far as being with a click track kind of thing.
okay.
On that gig. And of course it was a little more open and freer with the Moody's and a lot of different styles tucked within the Moody's music, which is really cool and a lot of fun to play.
Right. Right. Yeah. And I wanted to ask you about that. What's coming into your ear? What's in the in-ear monitor for you? NSYNC, you got the click track. Uh,
Yeah.
it changes from artist to artist for you.
No, no, I like the mix. I like my drums just to sit in the mix, maybe a touch bit heavy, like if you were listening to like a drum produced, like Dave Weckles, CD or something. The drums are just setting a little, you can hear every little nuance of everything. But no, the whole band is right there underneath with me. The balance of the click is always a challenge just because of the dynamics within the music and or crowd. More so the crowd with like NSYNC. I did time, now a lot of people have apps on their devices and they can literally sit there and mix, during the show live, which I can do during John's stuff. But back then, we kind of got a level set for the click and it was on a mixer under the stage. So I didn't have access to it. So there was an interesting dynamic there of like during a ballad when it's relatively quiet, the click volume would be like an ice pick in my forehead. But then on for this big song at the end of the show when 60,000 kids are screaming and the music's up and I'm bashing the china, I'm like, where's the click?
Right. Right.
Cause a problem. So yeah, there was that whole balance thing that was kind of interesting and dynamics on that level, which was cool. So that made that part of it challenging. In that scene also with a crowd that loud, I had to completely kill my overheads in my mix. So
Okay.
that was just for bleed through and very, very little vocal mics from the five guys up front because of the bleed through.
Okay.
But when the crowds are a little quieter during the show, more like with Pat or the Moody's, then I could put those things back in. But other than that, it was pretty much the same.
Yeah.
Hope I didn't go off weird. Yeah.
No, no, that's great. I'm so interested in that because, once in a while you get to hear what's coming into somebody's ear. And it's like, how do you play to that? It's a real musician thing.
It's such a personal thing. No one can really dial in your ears, you know.
Right.
Look over to the monitor guy and say, hey, give me a little more of this. His version of a little of mine are never the same.
Right, right.
Real personal thing but when you get it dialed in, it's really nice.
Yeah, and that's so cool. I love hearing that, and what you guys play to, what you hear, as the band in your ear, and how that translates outward to the crowd.
So Monitor mix is so important, because if it's not right in your ears, I can't get into that zone. It's just like things poking and sticking you when you're trying to, to achieve something. It's just, it's it's that important. That's why a lot of these artists carry around their own monitor engineer, their own monitor rig. So there's that consistency from venue to venue. Very important. Yeah.
And I would imagine, especially for a drummer, keeping rhythm and, it's extra important for sure. We think of the pop genre, the boy band thing, the Britneys and all that, heavily tracked, a little more than your Iron Maidens of the world, so to speak. It's a little more of a genuine musicianship, maybe from the band standpoint. Was there any reservations that you had, or anything that bothered you as far as tracking stuff? Because you're a natural player, you're there to play. Was there anything that you had to that rubbed you wrong, maybe like you had to line up with your playing, some kind of tracking going on?
Yeah, sometimes there were, and there are, because whenever like if we're playing and there's some sort of a loop going on, that's in the song that's going out front, as opposed to like a click track, which just I'm hearing. So anything that's pre-recorded, especially that's very percussive, like in some sort of a rhythmic loop, you got to realize that you got to lock with that as it goes out front, or there's going to be that friction. So yeah, there's certain times as I play with certain loops or had to play along with something like that live, that was a bit of a struggle to kind of get inside of it. But it's just, you got to do what you got to do,
That's
loop off. That's sort of the essence of that particular groove. It's important, so you got to set inside it. That's something, not that often, but yeah, every once in a while. That was it. And of course, so like if there's a shaker program that's got a nice busy pattern going on, I mean, obviously I wouldn't attempt to duplicate that on the hi-hat or something. It would just clutter it up. So in some ways, yes, I would simplify or fit inside of, just more rhythmically, percussively, whatever may be within the loop. So that would change a bit, instead of just playing it free and whatever you feel like playing. But that would be it, I'd say.
Okay. Yeah.
And I got so used to playing with the click track that it, Pat didn't have any loops that I can recall. But there were certain songs, not the whole show, just certain songs that had to be a certain so many beats per minute, just for her comfort and phrasing as she sings. And I completely get that. If you got to hold a note out, you want to make sure it's, the same time, I'm for sure. So, and in those situations, there's nothing going out front. So there's a little bit of that freedom to bend the time a little bit. And I would hear the friction in my ears, but it never translated. It translated nicely out front, because the music might have shifted a little bit while you have rigid click going in your ears. But because it wasn't going out front, you have the freedom to drift a little musically, make it feel good, kind of thing.
Yeah, I would imagine that's especially for a drummer, again, a lot more comfortable.
Yeah. And unless what you're playing along with just happens to fit your style of playing perfectly.
Right.
Other than that, there's definitely more freedom and more of an open approach when it's just the music, just natural and raw, for sure.
Yeah, that's cool. Gloria Estefan, that strikes me as a completely, it's not the Moody's, it's not the Nsync thing, right? Latin rhythms, sometimes complex.
Okay, so I'll tell you real quick the story with her. I didn't actually tour with her, but I did an award show with her.
Right.
And there's still an interesting story behind this. And so it was for a ballad, and I can't think of the name of the ballad, for a movie that was out that her and Nsync were doing. It was a Grammy Awards, the Latin Grammy Awards.
Okay.
But anyway, so it's one of those things where you're out on tour and then you find out, hey, tomorrow the band's flying over here and you're going to be doing this song with so and so on this show. Like, okay. Well, luckily, I'm able to read and write music, notation and stuff. So we get this song, and I'm listening to it, and I'm listening, and there's no repetitive pattern on the kick drum that I could pick up on listening to it. I said, I'm like 16 bars in this thing, and I don't hear a pattern yet. I started to panic, so I literally got my paper out and I wrote it down. And sure enough, it was a programmed song, a ballad that was by her husband Emilio had been involved in it. And it was very interesting in that I had to go on live TV, and whenever you're on the live TV, whether you fake it or not, you're still playing, right? So we're actually playing live this time, so you could actually see my kick drum every time, you hit the head, you see it like move live. When you not only could you hear it, you could see it. And if what I played didn't match with the kick drum that was programmed, I was setting myself up for a really bad situation. Along with this program kick drum is what I'm saying. Follow this part. It's not like, hey, go in live and play the song. No, like, here's the track, and it's got this 808 boomy thing that is the kick drum sound that's got to be there. I get to play on top of. I get to hit the kick drum, but you hear what I'm hitting, and you see what I'm hitting. I was like, crap. I literally, and it was nothing more than quarter notes and eighth notes on the bass drum, but I had a whole page full of that charted out, and I literally just had to read that thing because it was the next night. And I remember after we did a run through, Emilio looks around and kind of smiled and gave me the thumbs up, because I know he knew what I was in for when I heard that kick drum was. I said, man, but that was saved me a lot, being able to chart that out. But that was the experience, which was still amazing. But I didn't get to tour with her or nothing like that.
Right. But I mean, that whole a different kind of rhythmic thing like that. It's random. It's sometimes not your standard timbre kind of thing. It's very different, at least to listen to. I would imagine to play as well.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, and that's it's tricky. It's tricky to listen to, because I'm the guy who is tapping something when I listen, or I'm tapping a steering wheel, or I'm tapping my foot. I like that steady rhythm behind it, and when you can't find it, it's like, how is he even playing? I listen to it again and again then, because I'm like, how is he playing this? What? I mean, so random.
Yeah.
Can't imagine playing it, man. That's crazy. It brings me to the most challenging question. What gig was the most challenging for you? Was it that one?
Challenging. I'd say dealing with the pressure and just the nerves of being in front of cameras and large audiences. Clearly the Nsync days, because it was all new. I was coming out of playing clubs, and within a few years it was all this stuff that just sort of snowballed. And I remember a lot of nervous moments before and during gigs and tours and stuff, and live this and all this crazy stuff and concerts and stuff. So that was definitely nerve-wracking and challenging. But musically, probably the Moody's, just because of the variety of the style of the songs. And another interesting thing about the Moody's is Justin Hayward and John Lodge, they write differently and they think differently as songwriters, and they like something different from the drummer. So there was this completely different approach to two different styles of music within 1 2-hour show. Wow. That once the light went off and I connected the dots, I was like, that's what I got. So I didn't use that stuff you just get in there and you get feedback from this guy, and then you get feedback from this guy, and then you kind of connect what's going on. So Justin liked the songs played very basic. Think Steve Gadd, just laying in the pocket, very little extra stuff, simple fills, just let the music go, let the lyrics, take over, that kind of thing. And John was a rocker, and he loved the busier, crazier stuff and the energy and the drive, and, fill it up and play stuff. So there was these two different worlds. I didn't know I was walking into that, but once I figured it out, but it was quite a challenge. So that was interesting.
Yeah.
In the mood, sure.
Yeah, and I never really thought about that's what they offer. I mean, as a band.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what makes that music so interesting to listen to. It ebbs and flows. There's
It does, yes, and it required me to tune into that because I had to please each songwriter, and rightfully so,
right.
because it's their song.
Yeah, yeah, that's great.
Completely disrespectful to not attempt your very best to do that.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, definitely. Is there a genre that you've always wanted to explore? I mean, like we've been through all the genres, right? Is there one left? Seriously, I mean, you go from the rap thing to the Nsync to the Moody Blues. You played the Gloria Estefan a little bit. I mean, what is there one that you wanted to play?
Recently, I've always loved, but never been involved with the fusion project.
Mm,
And I met Alan Hewitt through the Moody's. He's their music director, been with them for like, I don't know, 15 years or something.
mhm.
And an amazingly talented singer, songwriter, piano player. And he's got some fusion projects that he's done in the past. And he asked me to get involved with his latest one. And this was back in, I think, 2019 might have been when we started doing it, maybe 17. And so when I got involved with that thing, that was a whole learning curve for me. And I spent hours woodshedding. Matter of fact, when it comes down to, and we've done some tours and dates and stuff, and have more coming up. One Nation is the name of the stuff. If you get a chance, look it up and check it out. I get to play a lot of notes, and they're really out of my comfort zone. Seriously, I've never played in that manner. I've goofed around with ideas in the practice room, but now I get to actually play them live. So I spent crazy hours practicing that thing. And I still do to this day, when we have stuff coming up. So that took care of that for me. Just that world. And I'm sure we're going to have some more material coming up. I know we are actually soon. So
Cool.
that's challenging and a lot of fun for me. So I get to cross that off my bucket list.
Yeah, that's great. And it's funny. I saw it. I mentioned to you on your Facebook page. You have my cousin. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and well, he turned me on. He's a fusion guy, fusion drummer. He turned me on to Vishnu. And Billy Cobham and Narda Michael Walden. And when I first heard Narda, my mind was blown completely. Visions of the Emerald Beyond, just
Great stuff.
oh my God! It just my whole world changed from that
Yeah.
point on. It opened another door to a whole other realm of music. So that whole world is and I know I've seen you mention other guys in that world that are influences for you. Yeah, I mean some of the greatest drummers.
Yeah, I've been I was remember the DCI videos that were out in the late mid 80s. You could only get VHS like instructional videos, and there was
Oh, yeah.
and there might have been 5 or 6 guys. Weckl had one, and then Greg Bissonette, Terbozio, Simon Phillips, Dennis Chambers, Steve Smith. I grabbed all of those and I wore them out, man, in my VCR for years. And when my wife and I first got married, she's a drummer, and our first little duplex was a 2-bedroom duplex. And we made each bedroom a studio, a practice room, and we cut out the sheetrock and put it in the windows and caulked it and just didn't tell them. But and then so we had sets in there that we could practice all the time. We slept out on the fold out cot in the living room when we first got. So
I love it. I love it. That's great. And I've heard you mention that Jenny's a different drummer, whole different style than you. How in what way?
um she's got this thing. She's very raw, and people just connect with with her when she plays because she's very sincere. She brings more energy to the gig than I ever could. And she's like Animal from the Muppets or the Energizer Bunny. When she sits down to play, you get 110% of every minute of every song to the very end. Now, and I'm talking, a 3-hour club date where, you're playing 3 1-hour sets, not go out for an hour and a half for 2 hours and give it your all. I'm not saying that. I'm saying when I go to this club dates, I gas out or I just have to pace myself, but not her. She's just in. And she's really good. She's got amazing feel, a pocket and a groove, and then she sings great on top of it. And she's just got this charisma, this thing that people always gravitate towards. And that's why we're doing this. You mentioned the project that we're doing here locally. It's because of her fan base and how the people love her. So I'm just tagging along. Get out of her way and bang on some drums,
It's got to be fun, though. I mean,
didn't know what the heck we were getting into. We were just sitting around one day, last year about this time. We were just kind of frustrated with a few projects and a couple of things that were going on with players and stuff. And, we're like, dang, it's really, I said, we should do our own thing. She goes, I know like half a dozen clubs that we could get into. I said, really? I said, well, let's do this. So we just literally like that. We decided just to go for it. Now, we hadn't played together in forever. It has been 20 years since we played together. And she's gone on, developed her own style like you do over time, and like I've done the same in my own little worlds. And I really didn't know what to expect when we sat down to play. But there's this very cool, the name Split Personality for a reason, because we are polar opposites in pretty much everything we do in life, including how we play. Right. But we have really good timing. So there's this thing where we really lock together very well, and it's quite fun. We're having a blast with it. And yeah, just messing around here during the week, trying to get out to some venues and just have some fun.
That's what it's what it's all about, man. You got to enjoy what you do.
This is true. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. If you could have a conversation with any living person, snap your fingers, have somebody there to have a conversation. Who would that be?
Goodness. Wow. Oh, wow. I think I would like to sit down and chat with Steve Gadd. I'm such in awe of his ability and just his demeanor. I've got to meet him a couple of times and of course seen many interviews and stuff. And he's just such a sweet soul, such a good person, and such an amazing musician. Yeah. I think I would like to sit and chat with him.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to to hear how he approaches the instrument, especially.
Yeah. I met a keyboard player once who was the musical director at the time with, I think it was Al Jarreau, if I'm not mistaken. But something happened a couple of weeks into the tour, and the drummer that was on the gig had to go home for a few weeks, and they flew Steve out to take sub. And this monitor guy says, man, when Steve got up there for the first time during sound check and played those songs, he said there was just a different pocket. There was just a different thing that was, no disrespect to the other guy, but that was so much better that he just elevated every song to the next level with his touch and how he thinks and how he phrases. And that's what I want to chat with him about. Yeah. What is it? Is that just something you're born with and it just comes out of you? Is there a process? Is it mathematical? Are you thinking through it? Are you feeling it? What's going on?
Yeah. And it's a curious thing. I mean, I've seen great bands over the years, and thousands and thousands and thousands of shows. I've seen decent bands, I've seen good bands, and then there's sometimes one in a couple hundred where there's just something. You might not even like the music, but there's something magical happening, man.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it quite often that takes a unit to create that chemistry, but right. There was something about Steve's playing that just took this music and just made it gel a little better and made it feel a little better, and all those moments, man, that's what we live for, is I think live players are those moments, man. There's nothing better than coming off stage, having experienced that.
Yeah.
That's an incredible feeling. That's probably what keeps everybody going. I know it keeps me going for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, it's like our us as, a bad golfer. You always get one shot that, keeps you coming back for the next round,
Yep. Yep. That's that motivation. Yep.
Um, what do you got working? What are you working on now? You got the thing with Alan Hewitt, right?
Yes, we're still working on getting some dates with that. And of course, John's he's just released Days of Future Past. We re-recorded the whole classic album. And Alan rescored the whole redid the whole orchestra. Everything is really a lot of fun to do. And so John's been touring off of that, and we'll go out at some point next year. Still don't have dates yet. So he's still very active doing that. And like I said, also the dates coming up with Alan Hewitt, hopefully beginning of next year as well with One Nation. And then other than that, just keeping busy here at house, doing the thing project with my wife, and yeah, just doing the grind and having fun.
That's cool. Do you like going out on tour, or would you rather stay in a studio?
No, I love the chaos of everything. I like going out for a few weeks, and then you're out there for 3 or 4 weeks, and you're like, oh, okay, get me home. And then you get home 3 or 4 weeks, get me back out there. And like where if I'm here at hanging out at home, 1 week there's 5 gigs, and the next week there's one. I don't know. I don't think I could do a 9 to 5. Obviously, I'm not wired that way. So a part of me welcomes the chaos. So yeah, I like going out and touring, and I hope to be doing it for many, many years to come, and with different players and different artists, hopefully. Yeah, I welcome
cool.
all. As long as I'm playing and the players are on point and the music's fun, I'm happy. Yeah.
That's cool. Do you have a bucket list item? Something you've always wanted to do, haven't had a chance?
No, I've never really thought about that. Maybe I should.
No, I think that's great. I love when somebody doesn't have an answer for that, because you're fulfilled. You know what I mean? You're in a great place.
But nothing that's like I set a goal. I have to accomplish this before I die or something. No.
Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. I love it. That's cool. Well, Billy, thanks so much for your time.
I didn't see the dog.
Oh,
is it the dog or the cat? What do you got there? I saw
the cat. Yeah.
Okay. I just saw them.
Sorry. Yeah. If was that?
No, I say thank you so much. I appreciate it, man. I really appreciate it. Chatting for sure.
Absolutely, man. And yeah, we'll keep in touch, and I can't wait till you come out. I'm here in Chicago, so yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Hopefully we'll be back in that area with John soon. So yeah, let's keep in touch. That'd be awesome, man.
All right. Yeah, definitely.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you. Bye-bye.